How's it going, everyone? It's Ben Foggins, Media Corner, back again with a brand new video for today. Welcome back to the movie review, aka After Our Soul review video for today. For this new aka After Our Soul review video for today, this is going to be my review on a film that came out this year for 2022, which this movie came out in September of this year. And this movie, while this movie didn't really play much in every single cinema and all that around the globe, and it didn't play for like every single day. It only played just for one night, which was part of like a sort of film fest of sorts, since this is a horror film and all that. And I did see this when it was playing just for one day, and also this is a reboot as well to this franchise that was made back in 2001. So today's review, this is going to be my review on the 2022 supernatural horror film, and like I said, this is a reboot to this film franchise that was made back in 2001, and that is Jeepers Creepers Reborn. Now, this, like I said, this is a reboot to the Jeepers Creepers franchise, and which that series was made back in 2001. And so in this reboot, we follow this woman named Lane, who she has a boyfriend, and they basically are traveling together to basically have a romantic time away, where they go to this sort of like a fun festival, whatever they go to. And while they're traveling, for Lane, she starts to have premonitions of this urban myth, legend, which is of course the Creeper, and she feels like that something has been summoned and all that. And once all that happens, she feels like she starts to question herself, thinking that she could be the center of all of this situation that's going on that has something to do with the Creeper himself and all that. So that's pretty much the story of Jeepers Creepers Reborn. Now, before I get into what I think of this reboot, let's talk about what I think of the original Jeepers Creepers trilogy. The first movie I really enjoyed. I think it's a good horror flick. Obviously, it's not a great film, it's not a masterpiece, but I do tend to agree with everyone it's a really underrated horror flick, because it is really good and all that, and I seem to enjoy the movie. But when it comes to the sequels, however, Jeepers Creepers 2, while some of my friends enjoy the film, but for me personally, I think the second one's just okay. There are some stuff I did like in it, but there definitely are problems I have with the second one. And the third movie, I do tend to agree with everyone what they've already said about the third one. It's easily the worst of the trilogy and all that, and I really do not like that movie. And also, that film did cause a bit of controversy because of the director, Victor Salva, who, of course, created the trilogy. We've been told about what he did in the past and all that, which was horrible, like what crimes he committed. And I won't go into too much detail about that, because there's been a lot of people who've been talking about all of that on the internet as well as on YouTube. But anyway, when it came to this reboot, when I found out that Jeepers Creepers was getting a reboot, I had a little bit of curiosity, thinking it could work out. And also, I heard it was also going to be a new planned trilogy to the whole Jeepers Creepers franchise. And after I found out about the Jeepers Creepers was getting a reboot, I didn't know much of the cast or anyone else who was making the film. But the director, from what I've heard, made the movie Iron Sky, which I've never seen that film before. So I was pretty curious to see what he was going to do for this reboot of Jeepers Creepers. And like I said, this film really wasn't playing much in every single cinema and all that for like every single day. It was only playing just for one day for like sort of like film fest of sorts of like horror films and stuff like that. So I did watch this the day it just came out, when the movie came out, just for one day. And after watching this reboot, was this reboot much better than the trilogy? Unfortunately not, because this reboot is one of the most abysmal reboots I've ever seen in the horror genre. This is one of the worst horror reboots I've ever seen. And you might also have a question for me. Is this even worse than Jeepers Creepers 3? Yeah, I can definitely say that this film takes the title here, because this movie is even way worse than Jeepers Creepers 3 here. Like, there's just so much here in this reboot that went completely wrong here, guys. Like, the story for this film, you're not even going to remember much of its story here, guys, because the story for this film is really forgettable in the slightest. And this film also has some story sidelines as well in this reboot, which you're not even going to remember much of the slightest as well. Like, there's one storyline where it follows the two main leads who are on this mile drive to basically attend this festival or con or whatever, and they're having a romantic time there, which you're not going to remember much of the slightest. And other storylines with other characters in the film, you're not even going to remember much of them as well in the slightest. And the concept for this film, I just found the concept for this film really insulting, because this film to me just didn't feel much of a Jeepers Creepers film. Because, for the original Jeepers Creepers, the movie itself, that flick is basically a monster flick. this film didn't feel much of a monster flick because this movie was made out to be as a slash flick, which I was just like, what? Because because that's what Jeepers Creepers is not supposed to be as. Because like I said, Jeepers Creepers is a monster flick. It's not supposed to be a slasher flick, and like I said, the whole and as well as for its concept, for the way the film is set out to be as, it just basically took some ideas from other horror films and just put into this film. Like, it took some essence out of, like, say, Wrong Turn or Friday the 13th. It just basically took some elements out of those films and just put into here, which I was just like, what the hell is going on, and what were they thinking while the people were making this movie? And this film also has a bunch of explanations here and there, which some of them were left unanswered, and most of them just felt really confused and all that with the characters of what's going on. Which, for me, I was just like, what? And I just didn't remember much about it because while I was watching this movie, I was just getting mostly bored while I was watching it. And when it comes to the characters and the performances in the film, none of the characters were even that likable or interesting. And even the acting in the film, the acting was terrible. Most of the characters felt really generic for what they were given for and all that, which it just completely lose me interest while I was watching this movie. And when it comes to the direction from the man who made Iron Sky, the direction of this film was absolutely bad. Like, there's some noticeable green screen and CGI in this film, which I can immediately tell while I was watching the film. Like, one scene where we see the main girl in the film, where she goes to this psychic store, and you can tell before she goes in, the background is green screen, and it is very, very noticeable. And when I saw that, I was like, that's green screen. I knew that was coming. And also, when it comes to the kills in the film were not even that entertaining in the slightest. Because, like I said, there was nothing in this film that really made me surprised or anything like that. And there was nothing, like, anything special to this reboot, because like I said, this film has nothing new to it, and it just has generic stuff from other horror films and all that. And like I said, I just found this film really boring, because I was just getting really bored while I was watching this film. And there was nothing in this film and there was nothing else that could really save this movie, unfortunately, because in the end, guys, Jeepers Creepers Reborn, this reboot is just absolutely awful, and this is definitely one of the worst horror reboots I've ever seen, next to other horror reboots out there that are considered terrible. And if you are a fan of the Jeepers Creepers franchise, and if you're dying to see this reboot, I don't know what way to recommend this film, because for me personally, I don't recommend this film. And this is easily one of the worst horror films that 2022 has ever released. And, for horror films in general for 2022, there have been really damn good ones this year, like X, The Black Phone, Nope. Those movies are really damn good, but this one, unfortunately, isn't one of them. Like I said, this is easily one of the worst horror films that 2022 has ever released, so that's pretty much all I have to say about Jeepers Creepers Reborn. Jeepers Creepers Reborn is another movie of this year to get a half out of 5. Just like I said, there was nothing in this reboot that could have been saved here. Because everything, the way this film turned out to be as, I just found this film extremely horrible to watch from beginning to end. And like I said, this is easily got to be one of the worst horror films that 2022 has ever released so far. And honestly, I would just much prefer sticking with watching the original Jeepers Creepers movie for now. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching for my AK After Hours Soul review on Jeepers Creepers Reborn, and let me know what you think of this reboot. If you have seen this already, if you just recently checked out this reboot, did you really enjoy this, or did you just downright hate this reboot? As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and this has been Fogan's Media Corner signing off.